This interview is with O Liyou, who's an equine veterinary dentist, and we are going to be discussing the horse racing industry. What are your views on the horse racing industry as a whole?
The horse racing industry, it's an ancient industry. It's been around for hundreds of years. It's an industry that is renowned to be the sport of kings, but I think it's got a lot of dark sides to it and a lot of things that could be cleaned up a lot to help the welfare of horses. A lot of horses love to race, but there's also a lot of things that could be done a whole lot better. That's my views.
With your career, what is the most common racehorse injury?
Probably the most common racehorse industry would be sore feet, and that's not a injury that you necessarily see a horse break down at the track and have to be euthanized at the track, as in a fractured cannon bone or a fractured pastern or something, but sore feet are really, really common in racehorses, and so as far as I'll call that a chronic injury, but it can lead to other things like suspensory ligaments and tendon injuries and sore backs and that sort of thing. So feet would be the number one.
What causes this?
A large amount of foot problems are through lack of good foot treatment and maintenance from 1 month of age right through, and you can't sort of just do them as a foal and then leave them for 2 years and hope that they'll be right. They need to get constant good maintenance, as if they're being maintained like as if they were running in a really good horse country mountain area. There's no good you leave them in soft grass paddock for 2 years and then hope that they'll have good feet. If they don't have them looked after all the way, they're going to have problems.
What is the worst case you have ever seen in a racehorse?
Probably the catastrophic fractured bones that they need to be euthanized on the track, and they're pretty upsetting, pretty tragic. They would be the most terrific one. Yeah.
What are your views on knackeries?
Knackeries, I think, I do believe they're an essential part of the horse industry, and I say that from the experience of in the USA where knackeries have been banned, and so all that's happening now is that those poor horses, instead of being put down at a local knackery, they're being shipped on a truck for 24 hours on a truck and putting through the stress of that to take them to Mexico or Canada. So I think they are a necessary thing in that there's fairly high welfare standards at knackeries, and the horses are euthanized with a captive bolt, and I guess it'd be nice if there weren't as many horses bred, not needing to be so many go through the knackeries, sure, but I don't think you can say take the knackeries away.
Yeah. Do you believe that majority of these animals that are murdered slaughtered in knackeries are fit to be everyday riding horses?
That's a tough one. I wouldn't know that. I know one of the things is a lot of horses that have got a long-term injury or they've got a severe behavioural problem, so I'm not sure about that. I would
Either.
don't know.
Do you believe that while race horses are in training, that they are taken care of properly?
That's a broad question. A percentage would be, but there's also a percentage that wouldn't be. I certainly know racehorse trainers who look after their horses extremely well, but also know the other side that it's pretty poorly looked after without and the fact is, the further you get away from nature in looking after a horse, the more problems they're going to get. So the more locking them in the box and feeding them high grain diets and minimal exercise and minimal turnout to pasture, all that sort of thing is going to be creating more and more insidious problems that are going to raise their ugly heads later on.
As a dentist, as an equine dentist, do you believe that their teeth are taken care of properly?
Again, some are, but probably a large majority are not. And again, I have a good trainer who gets them done routinely and never has any teeth problems because he believes in prevention is better than waiting for the problem. And I mean, it's it's also a real OH&S issue with a racehorse. They're big, 500 kilo plus animals on a high starch diet, so they're quite excitable, and they've got jockeys on their backs trying to steer them. So if their mouth is an issue, they're not going to be as safe as they could be if their mouths were really comfortable. So yeah, I certainly see on a regular basis racehorses that have just had a cheek dental, and the first 3 of their 6 cheek teeth have been filed, but the last 3 are really still sharp and causing a lot of ulceration and problems like that. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I think it's a poorly overall neglected area.
Do you believe that these horses are being overbred?
Thoroughbreds, yes. Yeah, I do. I think they're becoming a weaker and weaker breed. I think they're being propped up by a lot of surgeries and x-rays and breeding not selected on criteria that they would need to survive as a tough horse in the wild, and they're being bred mainly for speed, but not necessarily for vulval conformation or foot conformation or mouth conformation or temperament or all those things. So yeah, it's really just about speed and pedigree, and they're unfortunately leading to a massive wastage through horses that just don't hold up in training.
Why do you think that these racehorses aren't being rescued?
Money is the main reason. It's really expensive to, it's really expensive to have a horse and look after it properly full stop. And a lot of times these owners have already spent lots of money, lost lots of money on these horses that have problems and can't be a successful racehorse, which is only about 6% of all thoroughbreds. That's 1 in 16 will pay its way. So 15 out of 16, what's that, 84%, won't pay their way, so the owners get sick and tired of losing lots and lots of money, and then they just want out of that horse. So that's why they're not getting rescued, and there's not enough money in the general community. There's some dedicated organisations and people, but they really struggle to be able to rehabilitate these horses.
Very sad. What are your beliefs on 2-year-old racing?
2-year-old racing, yeah, it leads to a lot of breakdowns. It's unfortunately driven by the dollar, and it's driven by the fact that owners are trying to get a more speedy return on their investment that they put into a horse. There's a small percentage of racehorses that can develop well enough to be a successful 2-year-old and race on right through until an 8 or 9-year-old, but that's a very small percentage. So the majority of them aren't able to do that, and unfortunately a lot of them get broken down. So they've spent sort of 3 years breeding, raising a foal, raising a yearling, getting it broken in, trained as a 2-year-old, and because there's too much pressure put on, those horses break down too early, so they've wasted 4 years of investment by the owner just to try and get that quick return on investment. So it's very wasteful, and yeah, I don't agree with it.
Me neither. What do you believe needs to be done about these horses?
Education is the answer, and I think education of the owners in the industry. Don't leave it up to the trainers or the studs who have got a vested financial interest in it all. Educate the owners about preventative care.
Thank you, O Liyou, for your views on the horse racing industry.